Hello, I'm Chris Williams and welcome to my video blog for what day is it today? It's the 4th of September 2012 and this is a brief comment on David Cameron's shockingly appalling reshuffle of his cabinet here in the United Kingdom. And obviously I've been alive for lots of reshuffles. There were quite lots under the previous Labour government. There was one notable one in 2005 which was supposedly botched, which led to people not moving into the jobs that Mr. Blair wanted them to take up. But today, David Cameron has demoted people who I thought were doing quite well, largely because they are disagreeing with his policies. And people with no experience have been promoted in their place. Here are some examples. Well, you've got Ken Clarke, who has been doing good work as a senior member of the government, the only one in the government to have been in the previous Thatcher and Major administrations. He was the Minister of Justice and is pushing through some rather tough reforms. Well, he's been demoted to the token position of Minister of Portfolio. Apparently he's going to be keeping an eye on economics, because that's a bit of a nonsense position. The man called Peter Mandelson was the Minister of Portfolio in the first Blair government, of course, only put in place because of his role in winning the election. He didn't have any specific government responsibility. He was then lumbered with the Millennium Dome to sort out. I'm into railways. You'll know from previous video blogs that I have a model railway set on my carpet here, and I'm a bit of a train geek. Now I like to write down numbers in my book. I subscribe to a magazine about the British railway system. Well, Justine Greening, who moved into the transport position in, I think it was December, now only around about 9 months later, she has been moved, but she is opposed to the expansion of Heathrow Airport. There was a commission that ruled that an expansion of Heathrow Airport would not be a good idea, but now, to hell with what the commission says, it's back on the table. Greening is not happy with it, so she's been moved to international development, a nonsense job. If I was the Prime Minister, I'd scrap international development and merge it with another department. It doesn't deserve to be a department in its own right, in my opinion. But she's been replaced by Patrick McLaughlin, the former Chief Whip. I have no idea who he is, but it's rather disconcerting that the rather impressive Theresa Villiers, who was the junior minister in the Transport Department, she's moved to Northern Ireland Secretary in place of Owen Paterson, who I have seen on political debating programmes. He came across as very articulate. He's gone on to environment. I don't know if that's a good move or not. He's displaced Caroline Spellman, one of only 5 women who were in the previous cabinet. And now that her and the Welsh Secretary, Cheryl Gillan, have left, there's now some people saying, boo, there's hardly any women in the cabinet now. Baroness Razi was the party chairwoman. She's out, replaced by the former Housing Minister, Grant Shapps. And as I say, Cheryl Gillan, no longer the Secretary of State for Wales, where I'm blogging from. She's been replaced by David Jones. He used to be in the Welsh Assembly on the top-up-list system in one of the previous Assembly sessions, so that's interesting, but only from that point of view. In terms of capability to be the Welsh Secretary, he was a good deputy, but whether he's going to be any good being the Welsh Secretary itself is to be seen. Some say it's largely a part-time role these days, so I suppose you've got to start somewhere with a secretarial career. I'm relieved that Maria Miller, the Bridgend-born MP, has not to become the Welsh Secretary, because she represents an English constituency, and the reason why Cheryl Gillan was moved, apart from High Speed 2 running through her Amersham and Chesham constituency, some said that it's wrong that you have a Welsh-born English-based MP as Secretary of State for Wales. Some said that Maria Miller was given the job, then you'd have the same position there, but she's become Culture Secretary, replacing Jeremy Hunt, who has gone to Health for some totally bonkers reason. promoted only a few weeks after being accused of sleaze. And of course, the very bright previous Health Secretary, Andrew Lansley, has been demoted to the nonsense job of Leader of the House purely because he had difficulties grasping and communicating to the public the health reforms that David Cameron wanted to implement in England. And Ian Duncan Smith, apparently he was threatened with being moved elsewhere, but he said no, he stays at Work and Pensions. Cameron apparently not happy with the work that Ian Duncan Smith is doing at Work and Pensions, despite doing a big research exercise into finding out how you can get people off benefits and into work. So, interesting, you've got Lansley not agreeing with the Prime Minister, he's moved elsewhere. You've got Justine Greening not agreeing with the Prime Minister, being moved elsewhere. You've got Ken Clarke going too slowly with what the Prime Minister wants, so he's moved elsewhere. You've got Cheryl Gillan disagreeing with the government policy, she's moved elsewhere. You've got Jeremy Hunt promoted, having been just about cleared of wrongdoing, but the Prime Minister stood by him all the way through. So I think that this has been a terrible reshuffle, and I don't think this new government can win the election, in my opinion. I thought that with the previous configuration they could have done it standard for a government to be unpopular halfway through the Parliament, but now Cameron has overloaded the government with square pegs in round holes. I believe that's an expression that means it's not going to fit. And similarly, David Laws, the Lib Dem, who infamously had to resign a few days after becoming the Chief Secretary to the Treasury after being caught trying to hide his private life in a dishonest way. He has replaced Sarah Terror as the Junior Education Minister. Let me elaborate, that's not representing education for junior children, but Deputy Education Minister, if you want to refer to it in that way. I thought she was a rather talented minister, although she did seem to seem to have difficulty coping with pressure. I understand that she's been ill a lot of the time, and she came across well on television before entering government. Well, in government, she had to forcefully stand her ground in the face of an aggressive audience on the BBC's Question Time show, but I thought she handled herself well. Maybe education was not a suitable position for her to be in. Maybe she needed a smaller role with less pressure, but definitely a talent was present there, but clearly you haven't got time to get on your feet in the government. If you're not up to standard, you're then dispatched. So I think it's quite a shocking reshuffle, and I haven't mentioned that Sir George Young, who was also in the previous Major administration, he is gone, but that's not surprising. It was surprising that he was in the government to begin with. The Cycling Baronet, I think they nickname him, but him, in addition to Caroline Spellman and some other book I've never heard of, have now left the government for whatever reason. But I think this could be the moment where Cameron and the Conservative Party have lost the next election to be held in 2015. But you never know what will happen. I saw the other day an article that said that Ed Miliband is the best leader of the opposition that Britain has ever had. The person who then said that he's so good that he should stay in the job forever. That's sarcasm. That means that he should never become Prime Minister. But last night at the Paralympics, the Chancellor George Osborne was booed by the capacity crowd of 80,000 in the Olympic Stadium. But that's just standard political pantomime. All politicians get booed when they're in government, but then the public, with their double standards, then re-elect that party at the next election because they are not too impressed by the alternatives. Okay, do let me know what you think of today's rather appalling reshuffle. I've been Chris Williams. You can be my friend on Twitter, where I am ChrisAlfW. I've been using TweetDeck a lot recently, but I've run out of things to say on Twitter as a result. And do check out my written blog, mrchris254.blogspot.com. Look through my previous YouTube videos, and you'll find some interesting videos, including my time at the London 2012 Olympics. And you'll also see my tourist videos, where I went to places in the UK, like Manchester, Liverpool, and Birmingham. And you'll hear my opinions on a range of other topics relating to football. I had a friend yesterday who told me I've done a football ed blog for quite some time. Probably not always funny, but I support Liverpool, and they've shot themselves in the foot all of a sudden with the transfer deadline and a lack of strikers. But until next time, it's bye for now. Bye bye.